right, my English teacher friends, Kristian Kuhn coming at you again, affectionately known as the Bob Ross of composition. And guess what we got cooking right now? The art of styling sentences. So as we know, there's 20 ways to pattern a sentence, and voila, in this video, we are going to unpack how to do patterns 1 through 5 in an Etch-A-Sketch rendition. So before we jump in, please subscribe to the channel. It's called Kristian Kuhn, the Bob Ross of composition. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your students. Let's spread the word far and wide. So the impetus for all this in terms of my Nuance Academy and why I do this stuff is I use a seminal text called Strunk White's Write It Right. And in that book, they espouse the idea that there's 12 ways to cobble together a single sentence. So there are 12 sentence types. And diving further into that, over the course of my long career, I learned that there's 20 ways to pattern a sentence. So what I do is this. I first teach my students the 12 sentence types, and then we look at ways to pattern those. So down below in the description, I got some links for you. One is you can find a link to Strunk White's Write It Right so that you can do the exercises to learn the types. And in the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, there are several exercises to equip your kids with those 12 sentence types and some exercises they can wield to learn them. And then also in the YouTube channel, I have a few exercises I've already built around the 20 sentence patterns. So the text that I'm using for this to kind of guide my instruction is something called The Art of Styling Sentences by Anne Longknife and Katie Sullivan. And you can just find that on YouTube. I can't post a link to it, obviously, for copyright reasons. So with always, I like to Bob Ross my instruction for this. So what I'll do throughout this exercise is I'll go over the definition for the pattern, and then each pattern I will model how to do it 5 times, and then your students can do it 5 times themselves. And that way it really solidifies and shores up how to do it. So just sit back, follow my lead, monkey see, monkey do. And ultimately what we'll have is a segue to teach voice, rhythm, and flow. Teachers often ask me how I get my kids to, be syntactical ninjas and wield complex sentences and really hone in on their voice. And this is just one thing in my Nuance Academy that I do to really cultivate a nice voice, rhythm, and flow. So without further ado, let's jump right in and take a look at pattern number 1. Pattern number 1 by definition says this. It's a compound sentence with semicolon and no conjunction. Well, let's unpack that. And again, if you use Strunk White, your kids will know all the verbiage there with regards to how to use a semicolon and what a conjunction is. So I'll show you what I would do in my classroom, and I'm not going to show you all 5 patterns, otherwise this video would be like 90 minutes long, but I'll just give you a general groove of how to organize this. So at my overhead, I would project number 1 for pattern number 1 and read it and then just unpack it for the kids. I jotted her a quick text yesterday. She did not respond. So typically what you would do is put a conjunction where the semicolon is and say, but she did not respond. So I just remind my kids by definition that you're removing that conjunction. Take a look at number 2, it's a very similar thing. The snake hissed, I literally screamed. So you get rid of and throw a semicolon there. So no conjunction, semicolons linking 2 independent clauses. But you can also do patterns like this. Jim, comma, look at that t-shirt, semicolon. I think it's all natural cotton. So you can have some pauses in there and add some commas as well. And then number 4, the emaciated feral cat approached me, semicolon. She wanted the tuna in my hand, right? So the students really need to know what a dependent and an independent clause is. And early on in those lessons in Strunk White, and again, I got a ton of stuff in the YouTube channel, kids need to know how to use commas, semicolons, colons, dashes, periods, etc., right? So they have to, really master the grammar, the punctuation, and the syntax before we throw patterns at them. And then number 5, his speech made 0 sense, semicolon, because it's two independent clauses. It was an endless bloviation. So what I do is this: I show it 5 times, and then I say, kids, on your own, craft 5 original sentences in which you embark upon that pattern. I'll show you one more pattern from top to bottom, and then I'll just fly through the remaining patterns. So pattern 1 has a subset A. So this is pattern number 1A. And it's kind of complicated, so I defined it for my kids a little bit more thoroughly than the book does. So pattern 1A states it's a compound sentence with conjunctive adverb. And I'm assuming my students might not know what a conjunctive adverb is. So I just gave them a list of the common ones. However, hence, therefore, thus, then, moreover, nevertheless, likewise, consequently, accordingly. All right, so let's see what that looks like and try our hand at it. So just follow my lead. Here's number 1, pattern, 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 see the pattern. I wasn't all that thrilled about the concert, semicolon. However, comma, my sister was beyond stoked. So you can see there, you're still doing two independent clauses, so wielding the semicolon, but you just throw that conjunctive adverb in there. And in this case, I used however. Number 2 is going to be the same pattern. I'm going to use nevertheless and a semicolon, two independent clauses. Bob had a research paper due on Tuesday. Nevertheless, he procrastinated until the last minute. Number 3, just going to use a different conjunctive adverb. I'm using therefore, same concept, independent clauses, semicolon. Kenneth knows everything about cars. Therefore, he helped me out quite a bit in buying my Toyota. And number 4, Sarah is failing 4 subjects. Thus, she got cut from the softball team. And then number 5, I love vegetable lasagna. Moreover, I especially like to top it off with a hot fudge sundae. So after 5 times, students usually can figure out the pattern. Sometimes I'll have to model it a couple of more times at my overhead or my whiteboard, just to really shore it up for kids, but typically 5 times the charm. And then you guessed it, try your hand at it, students, give it 5, right? And so every time I show them 5, they give me 5. So I'll show you something else here. Pattern 1B is a compound sentence with 2 or more semicolons. I'll just give you one example. I have written 5, but just to keep this video brief, I'll just show you one. So Peter got a 5 on his AP exam. Jenny earned a 4. Quite to his dismay, Travis did not get a qualifying score. So you can see there you got 2 semicolons in there. So there's number 2, 3, 4, 5, and then students will try their hand at it 5 times. Compound sentence with elliptical construction is number 2. All right, so you got to unpack that a little bit for kids, especially the verbiage, and just give them some examples. So I'll just show you one. For my guitar recital, I played a song by the Grateful Dead. Bonnie, a song by Led Zeppelin. So you just get that elliptical construction thing going on in there. And then you show them all 5, and boom, they try it 5 times themselves. And again, all these slides are down below in the link so that you can use them for your classroom use. Pattern 3, compound sentence with explanatory statement. And one of the things I realized in making these presentations for teachers and students is that Long Knife and Sullivan have a different set of exemplars for this versus other texts. So it's kind of an odd way to do it, and I don't know if it's fundamentally even correct. It's a bit odd. I never used this sentence construct, so I taught myself something myself. So here's just one example. The basketball season was a success, colon, we won the state championship. I'll give you one more example here just to see it. So you're using the colon. I said semicolon earlier, excuse me, colon. Broadway exceeded my expectations, colon. The musical was breathtaking and the choreography spectacular. And just for poops and giggles, I'll give you one more so that you can see it. Remember what your grandfather always says, colon. Work hard and everything will take care of itself. So there's exemplar 3 and 4 there, and then boom, kids try their hand at it 5 times. Number 4 is easy. It's a series without a conjunction. So obviously students need to know some verbiage for this, and they need to know what a conjunction is. I usually just throw a list on the board and say, omit it from your sentence. So let's see a couple here. Number 1, no conjunction. The commencement address was poignant, tear-jerking, culminating. So you get rid of the and in there. Number 2, the lyrics and guitar playing of some contemporary artists, Dash, Zach Bryan, Gregory Alan Isaacoff, Iron and Wine, Dylan Gossett, blows my mind, right? So you just get rid of the conjunction there, and you can have some enumeration in the middle of the sentence offset by dashes. So that's a cool pattern. And then there are exemplars 3, 4, and 5 in there. And you're seeing the pattern. Students, try your hand at it 5 times. And then pattern 5 is a little tricky, a series of balanced patterns. So you got to unpack this one for the kids and really explain it. I'll give you a quick overview of it. A recently discovered Gnostic gospel, never before seen, never mentioned in any previous existing text, sheds light on Jesus's whereabouts from the ages of 12 to 30. So in terms of that balanced pair, you got the never in there, in between the dashes. I'll give you one more just to give you a flavor of it. The coach clearly showed the distinction between bunting and sliding, dogging it and busting hump, bench warmer work ethic, and championship mindset. So you got a trio there, right? You're enumerating 3 things, but everything works as a duo. So that is a balanced pair. So it's a list of 3, but within the list, each thing is duoed. And as always, I did it 5 times for my students, 3, 4, 5, and they will try their hand at it. So I guess the moral of the story is go slow, give exemplars. I would not do this all in one block. I usually do 1 pattern a day and then move on to other things within my instructional unit just to have a bunch of transitions and things of that nature. All right, so I'm at the end here. If you have any questions or would like to reach out to me for any reason, my email address is teachinwritingcoach@gmail.com. I also have a website, www.teachinghowtowrite.com. And I have a calendar of events there with all the webinars and things that I do in my comings and goings. So I have some webinars on docket with applied practice, perfection learning, NCTE, might be doing some work with the College Board. All of that stuff is free, but I do offer some professional development on my own, and I've kind of tweaked things a little bit. So I've been a lead teacher for the National Writing Project for quite some time, and I ran a course called the Teach It Right 5-Week Mastermind. And typically we would have like 20, 25 participants in there, all teachers. And one of the main points of feedback I would get was, man, I wish I could have taken this one-on-one with you because a lot of it didn't pertain to my course load. It wasn't germane to my district and my demographic. So it was useful, but it would have been nice to tailor make this just for myself. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. So I'm going to do the Teach It Right 5-week one-to-one mentorship. So if you'd like to work together and specifically hone in on word study academies, nuance academies, equipping your kids with heuristics, teaching you my Bob Ross methods, and literally anything else that I have demonstrated in the YouTube channel, we can tailor custom make a course around your needs. I've taught AP Lit and Lang for over 2 decades, and I've done on level 9 through 12 for more than 2 decades now. So I've run the gamut. I also have a self-paced course, which is super, super cool and very, very thorough. I know that some teachers don't have time to commit to 5 weeks, 90 minutes a pop. So the self-paced course is for those teachers that kind of want to just go when they can and when they can free up some time. It's a 10 video series. It goes over everything: Word Study Academy, Nuance Academy. It goes through the heuristics for rhetorical analysis, literary analysis, synthesis, argument, persuasion. It has an AP Lang video, an AP Lit video to go over all 3 FRQs. Very very, very comprehensive and thorough with some exercises just to make sure that you're grasping everything. And then the other thing that I have cooking is the alternative grading methods 2-hour intensive, and I'm offering this one-on-one as well. I've done this particular 2-hour intensive many, many times with, like Perfection Learning National Writing Project. And again, teachers say, man, I wish that you could do this one-on-one because my grading needs in my district and my demographic is very different than a lot of other places. And like I get what you're dropping for the alternative grading methods, but how would it apply to my particular situation? So we can work one-on-one, and 2 hours usually, is enough time to allow you to reclaim your evenings and weekends. So that's it from here. The end. I'll be bringing more videos in the days, weeks, months, years to come. Be well.